Hey guys, welcome back. This week we interviewed an athletics coach at MVRHS, Tony Mottola. Hope you guys like it.
Who am I here with?
Coach Tony Mottola.
And what do you do?
I am a health and phys ed teacher and the head football coach.
Can you give us an overview of your coaching background and experience and what sports and age groups you have coached in the past?
So I've coached all different levels from professional to high school. I coached with the Raiders out in California for 6 seasons. I've coached Division III college, Division II college. I've coached in prep schools. And then most recently, the past 22 years, I've been in high school coaching football, obviously, as a head coach and also a head lacrosse coach, boys lacrosse coach.
How did you know you wanted to coach athletes?
Well, my father was a head football coach, and I was his ball boy, and I was 6 years old. And it was one of those things. I was in the locker room before one of the games, and I was watching his team prepare, and I would listen to like his, pregame talks and things like that. And I knew right then at 6 years old that I wanted to be a football coach.
Were there any prior career paths you were interested in other than coaching?
Surprisingly, no. That's something I wanted to do when I was 6, and I'm at 52 years old right now, and I love every second of it.
And what is your coaching philosophy?
It's really about building relationships with the kids. I want them to, feel that it's just not a one-way street, and I like to build relationships with the kids. And again, that goes back to seeing my dad in the college when he would have, some of the kids over for dinner, or some kids that couldn't go home for Thanksgiving would come over to the house for Thanksgiving. And it was always that relationship that he had with his players that I just always kind of marveled at and always wanted to, I guess, have that a part of my philosophy. It's kind of like a big part of everything I do.
What do you believe are the most important skills and qualifications as someone who is seen as a leader of a team?
I think you have to be consistent and you have to be a good communicator. I think, consistency is a key that every day the athletes kind of know what to expect, how to expect things, and then being able to communicate your expectations and where you expect them to be trying to achieve too. And I think if you can kind of do those two things, it really helps moving a program in the right direction.
What do you look for in student athletes?
Just commitment. I just want someone that's committed to not only the sport, but to what the sport also asks for, which could be off-season workouts, could be flexibility training, could be any of those things. And then obviously they've got to make the commitment in the classroom. We can't be failing classes and then expect to do well on the field. So it's kind of, we're looking for that well-rounded, completely well-rounded person, but it takes a commitment.
What do you believe is the coach's role in overall development of athletes?
I think it's from top to bottom. I think that, we need to develop the athletes because especially at the high school level, a lot of times the first time you have them as they're 13, 14 years old and they're leaving 18, 19. So they're coming in as really a kid, and then they're hopefully leaving out as an adult. So I think that what we have to offer them and what we have to give them is essentially everything.
How do you approach team building and creating a positive team culture?
Well, again, I think it goes with communication and just them understanding what expectations are. And when you take over a program, a lot of times it's new to kids and it might be scary to them and they may not want to be a part of it. But as you kind of sift through all of that, you're going to get the kids that want to be a part of something special and be part of something that's a little bit bigger than themselves. And that's what you're doing. You're just constantly promoting the program, talking about the program, keeping it a positive program on the field, off the field, and I feel like that's a big reason and a big why of how you can start to attract more kids to be a part of something special.
What are some challenges that you encounter during coaching?
The world is always changing, so the kids are changing. They're very different now than when I first started to coach football, meaning they're a little bit more tech savvy, they're a little bit more on their phones, they do a little bit more video game playing at home and things like that. But I feel like I'm constantly changing and evolving as well, right? I can't coach today like I coached back in 1985, so I'm always evolving too and trying to adapt. So I feel like it's always kind of concentrating on that relationship being built that I have to almost sometimes reinvent myself, how I approach being in these kids' lives based off of, demographics or where we are or whatever.
How do you adapt to being a new coach to a team who already know each other really well?
Being an outsider coming in, especially on an island situation like we are, is really, really unique. And again, I think that once the kids start to understand through communication expectations that I do care about them and everything we do is for them and about them. And once they start to realize that I'm really here for them, I think that a lot of those boundaries and a lot of those apprehensions that they may have initially kind of break some of those barriers, and then they start to kind of trust me a little bit more, believe in our vision for the program a little bit more. But it's not an easy task, I'll tell you that, but I felt like, having kind of gone through it last year, I felt like relationships were built for kids that were coming back to the team, and it really paid off this year for us.
Do you believe coaching reaches outside of sports but into getting to know your athletes as well? How does this help the team?
Our job just doesn't start at 2:30 and end at 4:30 or whenever you're on the field and practice-wise. I think, again, it goes back to those relationships and making sure that they're doing the right thing in the classroom and doing the right thing in the community. And that could be anything from what they're doing on a Saturday night to a Friday night, what they're doing at other sporting events, whatever it might be. But when they believe in something a little bit bigger than themselves, which is hopefully what we're trying to build, you usually have a tendency to make better decisions than you would if you don't believe in those things.
Do you collaborate with other coaches or trainers? How do you do that and why?
I do, and I still do to this day. Like, I'll collaborate with my assistant coaches on a daily basis about practices and game planning and things like that. I also collaborate with guys that I have coached with in the past and past players I've had. I'll call them up, talk to them, and it might not even just be about X's and O's and a football question, but it could just be about, life and what's going on. So I am constantly in contact with past players, past coaches, and I think that's the beauty of being in the coaching community, is those branches reach out a long way. So you have a lot of resources at your disposal, which I try to take advantage of.
How often do you travel as an athletics coach?
For obviously travel-wise to away games, we do that, but I'll also go to clinics in the off season. I'll go to Boston. A lot of times I've gone to Nashville, to Texas and things like that. Next year I'm going to go to Louisiana to LSU, constantly trying to, better myself and make sure that I'm bringing the cutting edge technology of what's happening through nutrition and flexibility and football part of it to these kids. So you do a little bit of travel in the off season just to kind of continue to better yourself.
And what's your average day like?
So during the season, you have your full day of teaching here. So what is that? You're talking 7:15 to about 2:15. And then usually we'd be out on the field around 3:15. I'd allow the kids to either get a snack or go see Tanya, our trainer, to get taped, or if they need to get something done there, also get extra help in the classroom. And then we'd probably be off the field around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then I would get with my assistant coaches. We'd review how the practice went, what we need to continue to do, what the next day looks like. So we're usually home around 7-ish, 7:30.
How much do coaching positions differ from high school to more professional-wise?
From the high school perspective, there's a lot more teaching that goes on than like the professional level. You're not teaching a professional athlete essentially how to run a certain route, when in high school you have to teach them the exact steps on how to run a route. So the teaching is a lot more at the high school level. At the pro level, it's a lot more conceptual type of teaching, which I find to be a lot more rewarding, to be honest with you, at the high school level, because you'll see a kid come in as a freshman, you'll teach him something, and you'll see him progress all the way through for those 4 years, and by the time they're seniors, you should see tremendous amount of growth, which is actually exciting.
Are there any opportunities for promotions or advancements in either coaching position?
As a head coach, there's really not a whole lot of room for advancement on a scale of, there's nothing higher than the head coach. But as an assistant coach, 100%, they can strive to become coordinators, an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator. They could, something like that, or eventually become a head coach either here or somewhere else. But in the athletic realm, for me as a head coach, there's really not much else to push for, obviously, unless you want to become an athletic director or something like that.
And is there any advice you'd give to athletes that want to be recruited?
100% that there's always a school out there for everybody and for every level of play. So you never want to disqualify yourself from trying to play a college sport. because you may not think you're good enough, you might not think your grades are good enough, you might not think this, that, and the other thing. When there is a school, there is for everybody out there to go out and play, but you really need to communicate with your coach, because I can't help you if I don't know that that's something that you want to do. Is that, you know what I mean? Like, I can't read your mind and know that you may want to go play college football. All you have to do is come and have one quick conversation with me, and we get the ball rolling. I have a lot of college coaches that I am constantly in communication with, and I think it's something that kids should strive for, because when you get to college and you play on an athletic team at the college level, that's very special, and it's very cool, and just makes that whole college experience, I think, even better.
And do you have any final advice in general?
No, I think the questions have been on point. You know, we're just from an athletic point of view here, we're constantly promoting the program. We were just in the Edgartown Christmas Parade with a float and with the Island Cup, and we're just constantly trying to promote this program and let the island know that there's some really special things happening inside these walls that a lot of times people on the island and other places just don't really know about. So we're constantly promoting and putting the kids out there to show what great things are happening here.
Thanks, Mr. Mottola, and thank you guys for watching. Hope you stay tuned for the next one.